What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to the Captain's Run. We are here. We have arrived. It's grand final week. I'll say this, for me, this year, it's the best week all year. Actually, I'll still say second best because Queensland winning the series was the greatest thing ever. But I will say one of the best weeks of the year. I cannot wait. And look, it is good to see Broncos v Storm. I mean, yes, Storm do make a lot of grand finals. However, it's a little bit of a different flavour. They do have a rivalry all the way back to 2006 where the Broncos beat them. And then obviously the Storm went on their crazy run. Also history, like Bellamy, he was an assistant coach at the Broncos. And a lot of people may not realise this, but the foundations of the Storm club were actually built on the Broncos foundation. So a lot of the stuff that Broncos had in the early 2000s, Storm took that down to Melbourne and used that as the kind of foundation of the club, but then obviously evolved it. Matter of fact, so much so that they actually took Broncos' #1 scout, Paul Bunn, who is still there to this day. And it's it's an interesting, crossroads moment, what is the Storm the greatest at? Recruiting guys that most people don't see certain things in. Crossroads moment. So there is a lot of history between the clubs, a lot of history. When we used to play them, whether it was in just a normal game or as a finals game, it was like a grand final. Any other team we'd play, it's a big deal. But whenever we played the Storm, you could cut the air with a knife. That's how tense it was. I don't know, it must have just been because at the early 2000s, they were the best side and we were going all right as well. So I cannot wait. Maestro, how you going, mate?
Very well. And that pipeline's continued, right? That pipeline. Dave Donaghy, the current Broncos CEO, started out as the Storm media manager back in the late 2000s. Michael Maguire, obviously part of Craig Bellamy's coaching staff. There's so many crossovers this week. So, tasty grand final. You must be pumped, excited.
Nervous. Definitely
2023
nervous.
all over again.
Well, I'll tell you what. Definitely not 23 all over. What are you trying to do there?
Maybe the start.
What's interesting is that whichever team loses, that will be essentially back-to-back grand final losses. That's tough. That is tough.
Well, you look at Renault, has lost his last two.
Yeah, but there's obviously 2023, the Storm 2024. So whoever loses this as a team, they'll have lost 2 grand finals in a row. That's hectic. Very rarely in such a short amount of time are there 2 teams that could lose 2 grand finals. Usually there might be this one team's a little bit cursed or whatever, but oh man. So there's a lot on the line. I cannot wait, guys. Text in 0457 736 736. I want to know who is going to win the Clive Churchill. Who is going to win the Clive Churchill? Now, before the final series started, I got on Payne Haas for $18. Thank you. Payne Haas for $18. And I did a little sneaky Payne Haas into anytime try scorer. I got $41 for that. Juicy. Okay, let's get into it. We are here thanks to Chemist Warehouse. Half price vitamin sale is on now. Alrighty. Big news dropping. Now, this is just reports at this stage, but it has been brewing for a while. It's not fully confirmed, but, it has been around for a while, so it's not come out of nowhere. So Code Sports is reporting Rugby 360 organisers informed player agents on Tuesday night that the competition would begin on October 2nd next year after securing the funding and player numbers to begin. And so Rugby 360 is a breakaway rugby comp. I mean, people are calling it a rebel comp. It's just another rugby comp. It's just another rugby comp. Now, you could say it's a rebel because it's probably not going to be under the jurisdiction of the World Rugby or whatever. Anyway, so basically what it is, to my understanding, they've got backers from all over the world, but there is a Middle Eastern part of it that they'll probably have to go over there and play at some stage. Anyway, there's backers from everywhere, but there's a lot of money being poured in. And so basically, the yarn is that at least 10 NRL players have been targeted. Now, these are just reports, guys. These are not confirmed. But one is Pappenhausen, another is Lomax, Nelson Asafa-Solomona, Roger Tuivasa-Sheck, Jai Gray. I want to be really clear with this, guys, though. That's all we've got at the moment. Really clear with this. Because this is a situation where all this money is getting thrown around, sometimes, and look, I wouldn't put it past managers, they'd never do this, but sometimes they put their name in it to try and obviously get more money out of their club. So, for example, when the Dolphins came in, everyone was going to the Dolphins. And then no one went to the Dolphins. So, as I said, take it with a grain of salt in regards to, there's so many things going on behind the scenes. But anyway, it's here. I've got to say, though, I'm no Bill Gates. I'm no bloody Steve Jobs, okay? So I'm an absolute nuffy when it comes to business. But I don't see the return on investment. You're going to spend, let's say, $500 million, $500 million. Where do you generate the revenue from? Is it TV rights deal? But then the TV rights, who you sell it to, they've got to earn revenue off ads, and you're usually only going to have ads to the local population that the TV's to. So I'm just like, and then in regards to like, okay, and they're also going to try and make money off the gate with people going to the game. Bro, to start a whole new club, like no one has any connection to it. It's got no history. And basically the real reason why everyone's there is because of the money. I don't understand how it's going to work. And like people go, oh, they got so much money, it doesn't matter. But at some point, then what's the point of even putting it on? Like if you're sitting there just going, I don't care about, like we can lose money forever. It's like, well, so you're just doing it for fun then? Like I'm just not sure how they'll ever get a return on investment when it's an international game with all these teams just being started out of nowhere. Like, do they sign a deal with Netflix or something? Or is it one of the bigger Amazon or Netflix and that's how they kind of get their TV rights deal? But even then, like let's say they spend $500 million in their first year. There's no way Netflix is going to go, here's a $500 million a year TV rights deal. So I'm just like, and yeah, I totally get it. With investing, you lose a lot of money in the first 5 years and then you make it back as you grow. But geez, like this is a lot of money to be thrown at a union.
It's a massive punt, Kempy, and we're getting breaking news on this like as we come to air this morning. So we've just had an update from the Sydney Morning Herald as well that Rugby Australia is set to block Wallabies if they sign up to this new R360 competition. All teams to be registered to the United Arab Emirates Rugby Federation, but then the franchise location is expected to be London, Miami, Tokyo, Dubai, Boston, Cape Town, Lisbon, Madrid. So none of them based in Australia, sort of disparate cities around the world. I tend to agree with you. If they get this off the ground, it's a fair accomplishment because sitting here right now, I tend to agree. Where's your return on investment coming from in nations and cities that don't have a rugby background traditionally?
And also, like, we've seen way more money being thrown at soccer, and they've got some of the biggest names possible, and it didn't work. It didn't work. Like, those local Saudi leagues, like, some of the other teams get, like, 10 people there. And also, a lot of the players, they see that big offer of $100 million a bloody week or whatever, and they get over there and they hate it, and they come back early. So I just don't know how, especially, like, if you're guys like Pappenhausen, Lomax, Nelson, Solomona, RTS, like you're already on 800 grand up. Like, so let's say they offer you 2 million. Is it worth being on 2 million, living away from your family in a foreign country for 6 months? Like, I don't know. Like, to some people it would be. I wouldn't want to miss my son's, at least early in his life, his first 6 months. There's no way I would do that. There's no amount of money you could pay me unless it was like, you couldn't. No, I don't want to miss the first 6 months of his life. So, yeah, there's so many hurdles. Now, we've got Chamis here. So the inaugural season will start October 2nd, 2026. It will include 6 male teams and 4 female teams. In 2027, the Rugby World Cup year, the 12-event competition will run from April to September and include semi-finals and a final. The men's competition will expand to 8 teams. In 2028, the competition will include 16 events running from April to September. The franchise locations, as you said, mate, will be London, Miami, Tokyo, Dubai, Boston, Cape Town, Lisbon, and Madrid. The teams will be registered to the United Arab Emirates Rugby Federation. Players will be granted full release to play in international rugby. The players will own their IP and not be owned by their team or Rugby 360, maximising their off-field earning capacity. A player draft will be held in July next year where players will be assigned teams. All players will be able to choose their country of residence and won't be asked to reside in their franchise location. Wow, mate.
Pre-season will be fun.
So yeah, like I mean, they've got to be they've got to be together.
They've got to be together at some stage.
Yeah, like what are you going to like? Are they going to play on the weekend and then fly back to their like? Yeah, look, as I said, way smarter people than me would be putting this together. Way smarter. I just don't see where the return on investment is, and also like rugby, the World Rugby is just going to block the hell out of this. As we've just heard, Australian Rugby saying, no, you can't go. And maybe that's the reason why maybe a lot of league players are being targeted because they're probably aware that it's going to be hard to get players away from. And then so like let's say every country blocks their stars going to this league. So really all you're going to get is non-union players, so leagueies and that, and then union players that are past their best and just looking for a payday because they're not going to back. So the standard of competition is just going to be like nowhere near what you can get elsewhere.
The other interesting case point is someone like a Jai Gray, who is mentioned in a lot of these reports as being offered like a $900,000 a year contract, something he'd never be able to get in the NRL unless he went from strength to strength. Ryan Pappenhausen, for example, a guy who's had problems with head knocks in the past, maybe looking to secure his future financially, given his circumstances at the Storm. He can put Nelson in that category as well. But again, these are players that are not...
They're not union players.
They're not union players, and they're not your Nathan Clearys.
No.
They're not your right at the top end players, Reece Walsh's, guys like that.
Nah, like that's what I mean. Like our big dog players are already earning like 1.2, 1.3. So like, yeah, I understand. Like, okay, you could get $3 million a year. I get it. That's a lot more money. But again, like mate, it is to start clubs from nothing. They don't have to reside in this country that they're from. It's just going to be a tough gig. And look, I think that if you're a player and you get offered a Mozza and you're in the back end of your career, mate, take it. Take it. Like, as long as you're guaranteed the pay will come through. But we've got some text here. Kempy, what if the Saudis are just doing it to disrupt the world game, to the point the world game fails, force their knees and becomes a partner, similar to the live? Mate, potentially. I mean, as I said, there are way smarter people than me that are doing this. We always know there's so much more stuff going on than meets the eye. And like you would say, the live has succeeded. The live golf has succeeded.
To an extent, yeah. It's now to a point. I don't know that they're actually making money from that. And the other thing about the Saudi aspect is every time they're asked about it, they say, no, we're not involved with this. This is not Saudi money. Mike Tyndall's the face of it, big wig over in the UK with rugby and a lot of those competitions. But yeah, there's still a lot of opaqueness about where this funding is coming from.
Like for all these other reasons, they go, oh, it's politically, or they don't care about how much money they're going to make, all that kind of stuff. But surely there are cheaper ways to get political influence than a worldwide union tournament. And like union, it's not like it's a pretty big game worldwide, but it's not that big worldwide. Like, wouldn't you? Okay, I don't know, like a rogue NFL league. Like, you know what I mean? Like that's going to be making way more money. Like, I would say the positive is like you are attacking a sport where they're not earning $50 million a year, so you're going, you actually can compete with the prices bringing in. So, look, it'll be interesting. I'm always of the mind of like, if you're a league player and you want the money, mate, go for it. And I don't think I think a lot of league fans will totally understand. Like, if this young guy who would only ever earn $300K a year is going to get $900K for 3 years, mate, why not? Why not? You can always come back to league. I just wonder, like, the longevity of this. Mate, it'll be a master. Like, if this lasts, it'll be unbelievable. And just to throw back to the soccer, the reason why I have a lot of concern is because, like, if the soccer one didn't work, like, bruh, you know how much money got thrown at some of the biggest stars in the world. So that's what
still is.
Yeah,
still is. They're still scrapping away, but fighting a losing battle at the moment.
They got big names too. Whereas at the moment, this rugby union comp is going for guys that like either can't make their international side, because I'm assuming that every country is going to block their players from going there. So you're not even getting the best of the best. It's just super. Okay, I guess the one difference you could make with the soccer situation is they had to move there, whereas here you get to move to Barcelona so there is that. But super interesting. Look, as a pure sports fan, like, it's cool just to see.
Intriguing.
Yeah, for sure. Like, and look, just because I don't know how it's going to work doesn't mean I'm sitting there going, I hope it doesn't work. Mate, the more sport, the better for me. Like, in 5 years' time, if I can chuck on and we have this really entertaining, because I've always been a big proponent, a high-quality union game is extremely entertaining. The problem is they're so few and far between, or, like, you can get a high-quality one, but it's for the purists, whereas, like, obviously I'm not a purist. So, yeah, it's going to be really, really interesting. As always, being a player first, mate, get your money, boys and girls. Get your money, boys and girls. Seriously, it is going to be super, super interesting. So,
are we saying long-term, no impact on the NRL and our product unless it really takes off? And even then,
I wouldn't. Okay, so let's say it takes off and it gets bigger and more money gets in. They're not going to keep going after league players. They're going to go after bigger union players.
All Blacks.
Yeah, like
English rugby.
That's where they'll start going. Whereas, like, they're going after league players now, probably because that's much easier to get because the countries are blocking them. Look, it's super interesting. As I said, I'm an idiot. I'm dumb when it comes to business, but I just don't know like what the angle is. Maybe there's some undercurrent political, or there's a battle between, rugby, World Rugby and someone else, and or whatever. Maybe that's all that stuff going on. But just outside looking in, I'd put it this way: I would love to see some kind of business plan.
Yeah.
Like just to be like, and not some in-depth one, just like. What is it? Is it a deal with Netflix? Is it a deal with Amazon? Amazon has all the money in the world to spend. Are they trying to get into sport because Netflix is getting into boxing? Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, if you're all the way in with Amazon and they're looking to get into live sport, okay, that's starting to be. But I just like to see what they're kind of planning. Anyway, plenty more to talk about. So make sure to stay tuned. Got a bunch of different text guys, and also, I mean, we got so much to talk about. The games on the weekend were absolutely incredible. Welcome back to the Captain's Run. Got a bunch of texts here flying in. Rugby is huge in Dubai. 1,000 participants from junior, high school to senior international level. They'll throw money at it until it works. Dubai is a great place to live. Okay. And got some more texts here. You're not that silly, DK. You've built a... thanks, bro. I appreciate it. Hey, Kempy, is the Rebel Union money tax-free? Now that that'd be very good, attractive for some. Or just, I guess, depend... where they're living, I'd say, wouldn't it? Because you can't just go, it's tax-free in this country, but you're residing in Spain. You'd have to go by the Spain laws, wouldn't you?
We need
Spanish laws.
Need an account on the line to figure that one out.
Okay, it's a proper international game. Get off the gear. Union is a way more worldwide game than NFL. First of all, I never said NFL was a more worldwide game. But I'll take some more gear because this is what you don't know, buddy. The most valuable sporting franchise in the world is the NFL. Matter of fact, 29 of the top 50 are NFLs. Matter of fact, not a single union club is anywhere near the top 50. The value of the NFL is the most valuable. It's way more valuable than soccer. Like the English Premier League has only three clubs in the top 50. The NFL has 29. That's how much money is in the NFL. It is the biggest sporting, in regards to money, it is the biggest franchise in the world. And so my point is like, okay, you've got this huge pie of money and a huge interest. If you could get a bit of that revenue because you've got the Saudi money with a competing league. Now, granted, I'm not saying it would be easy, and it probably wouldn't even work. But my point is like, wouldn't you go after something where the revenue is 100 billion rather than like what would the rugby union, basically the World Cup for rugby union, when they go to a city, it literally only generates just under $1 billion for that city. And that's every 4 years. Whereas like you look at NFL, they're generating like hundreds of billions of dollars. And so my point is like, okay, you've got this huge revenue pie, huge interest, no competing leagues. Is there a way to attack that? Now, I think the reason why you couldn't attack it is because they're already earning $80 million a year. Like the best players, like you would have to go in there and say, he's $400 million a year, like some crazy like that. So I think that's probably where it was. But anyway, that was my point. Mate, you're right when you said you're an idiot. The Saudi Pro League's still going strong. They play in front of sellout crowds so much and they're being awarded. No, they don't. You are making stuff up. They do not play out in front of sellout crowds all the time.
4 clubs.
Yeah.
4 clubs. The ones invested into by the PIF.
Yeah.
The rest of them, have a look there. They are not on the same level.
Your local soccer nearly gets as many as the other one. Seriously. Come on, bros. Come on. Rugby Australia already blocked players, and that will still all go to France and play. They'll just give up their spot in the Wallabies. If the Saudis double it, why wouldn't they? Just got to be clear, guys. We don't know that the Saudis are interested. So it's not like we didn't say that. I know it's just an assumption because obviously the live situation and they're doing other things like the boxing and comedy festivals and everything, but we aren't sure who the actual investors are at the moment. Hey, Kempy, is the Rebel Union money tax-free? Oh, sorry, I read that one. Hey, boys, if this competition works and survives, the best chance to make it work would be running Gala Day. Mini tournaments like the Sevens Rugby World Cup circuit to run a 12 or 13 comp would work. Yeah, like, I understand what you're saying, but again, like, how do you build up that core base that's going to spend money week in, week out? Whereas, like, if you were just to go like the Sevens circuit, it's really like just a festival thing for the people that live there. So, like, okay, let's say the Sevens come to Sydney. Oh, Sydney's here. Okay, let's go down the Sevens. Oh, how good was this? That was fun. And then I never think about it again. Whereas, like, you need a core home base of people that, like, are connected to the team, go down to the training, go down to every game, like, are going to financially constantly support the team. And that's where it's going to be interesting. Now, maybe they just have so much money, the TV rights deal can take care of it, where they're just like, you know what, Amazon's willing to give us $1 billion a year. They need live sports, and they've got to compete with Netflix. But we'll see. We'll see. Outside of that, we're going to head to a break, and after the break, we're going to get into some footy. Well, what is up? Welcome back to the Captain's Run, brought to you by Lontel, the best internet in all the land, guys. Go to lontel.net.au. You only pay for what you use. So I'll be away all weekend. I pause my internet, don't have to pay for it. lontel.net.au/bloke. Alrighty, let's get into the game on the weekend. So on the weekend, on Sunday, the Brisbane Broncos defeated the Penrith Panthers in an incredible match, absolutely incredible match. And I'll tell you what's blown my mind even more. So Darren Lockyer said on one of his shows on 9, and so I'd have to check this, but he said that since 2020, any time that the Panthers have been ahead by 12 or more, they are 98-0 up from that period since then. So essentially, once they get 12 points ahead, you don't score against them, and they just continue scoring. That shows you how mammoth of an effort that was from the Broncos, because that doesn't happen against the Penrith Panthers. It took just a crazy, crazy effort to be able to do what they did. Now, in regards to the game, look, I think the biggest question for the Broncos, obviously they need to make sure they play like that in the grand final, but it's more just, I felt like the attack, especially in the first half, was really clunky. And that's my only concern is with Reynolds coming back in, it was clunky a bit when he was there initially, and then he came back in, and it didn't really open up until Benny Hunt went to 9 and started opening up. So I'm hoping that was just him getting back into the groove of things, and I'm hoping the second half was more instrumental of what it's going to look like for them, because they've shown ticker, they've shown grit. What's really good too is they're fit enough. That's a really safe thing as a fan. There's nothing more unsafe when you're going. It's not the fittest side, but they're most talented side. So they're fit enough for sure. One of the most fittest teams in the comp. Now in regards to the Melbourne Storm, they've got everything they need. They really do. It's just a matter of they need to be able to win the ruck. If they get dominated in the play the ball and they're having really slow play the ball speeds, because if you go back to the last game where Broncos went down to the Melbourne Storm, basically what happened was the Broncos were averaging nearly 10 more meters a set than the Storm. And the worry is that if the Broncos play clinically and their line speed is crazy or whatever, they can lock the Storm into their own half. But that's what makes the Storm so brilliant is even if they are getting slow play the balls, Harry Grant can make you pay at times. So look, if the Storm win the ruck, honestly, they could win 13 plus. That's how scary that will be, because they are just so electric. But if the Broncos can win the ruck, then they can definitely win. So it's all just around play the ball speed for me. For example, last week there was a period there where the Penrith Panthers, their average play the ball speed was 3.02 seconds. Now, to put that into context, Origin this year was 3.5 seconds. That's Origin. And so that's how quick the Panthers were playing in the first half. So it's going to be really interesting to see how they do with that. It's going to be interesting to see, have either side been holding certain tactics back for the other side? So, for example, has Michael Maguire had a system ready for Harry Grant that he said, you know what, I'm not going to waste it here? Because, funnily enough, people may not realise this, but a lot of coaches actually do hold back certain tactics for bigger games. And so I wonder if there's anything that the Broncos have got up their sleeve to handle Grant, and vice versa. I know Craig Bellamy would have something up his sleeve for Reece Walsh. There would be some kind of system that he'd be having sitting there waiting for him. And then if he was going to play the Panthers, there'd be a system dealing with Cleary, and there'd be a system. So that's what I'm really intrigued to see. But in regards to the game on the weekend, incredible performance. And I just think with the Panthers, look, yes, obviously they definitely were tired towards the end, but I don't want to take away from what the Broncos did. The Broncos were amazing. They were relentless. I'd get it if the Broncos didn't play as well as they did and didn't fight as hard in the second half. I'd be like, okay, yeah, the Panthers were just completely cooked, huge long seasons, and so they were cooked a little bit. But I think a lot of that had to do with the fact that the Broncos just kept repelling them at the line, because you got to remember, if the Panthers executed at least just one or two of them tries down on the Broncos line, the game's over. And we'd be all sitting there going, oh, the Penrith Panthers, we wouldn't be saying they're tired. We'd be saying they're back and they're going to win a comp. And so that's what I'm like. I just think that the Broncos just had one of the better games they've had in a very long time. Even in the first half, the Broncos' completion rate was terrible. And so Anyway, what do you think of the game on Sunday, Maestro?
I concur with a lot of your thoughts there. I was interested, what was it, midway through the first half? Ben Hunt is standing at first receiver and sort of has his arms in the air. Like, where are we going with this?
Yeah.
And the fact they were able to switch that at halftime, bring Ezra into the game, and obviously he had an impact, but Payne Haas, I thought, was where it all started. I think there is an argument now, Kempy, that he is the best front row forward we've ever seen in rugby league. Certainly in the time I've been watching, he was titanic, and just the little drop of blood at the end, it was Terminator, wasn't it? He was absolutely outstanding. I don't know if you can put a system in place to sort of shut him down, because that's where a lot of the Broncos' good play came from in the second half, particularly, I thought.
Yeah, absolutely. And another thing is the thing that's spoken about a lot, like we were without Billy Walters and Carrigan.
What decision would he? It's a hypothetical now. What decision would Michael Maguire have made had Billy Walters been fit?
Well, I think he
would squeeze them all in.
I think Walters would go to 14, Hunt would go to 9, and I reckon he'd just start Ezra.
Yeah. Are you still a fan of that for the grand final? You think we'll see a change before kickoff on Sunday, or do you stick with Benny Hunt and Adam Reynolds, the oldest attacking halves combination ever to start a grand final?
Yeah, it's such a tough one. It's such a tough one because for some reason, Renault and Hunt, it just
wasn't clicking early, was it?
It doesn't click. And then once he went to 9, it seemed to click a bit better. Mate, but at the same time, like the overall result was an incredible victory.
Yes.
So do you want to change anything? I will say Ezra did look a bit tentative when he came on. Like he definitely didn't look like his explosive self. And so the worry I have is that if you can't be tentative in the grand final. Like you need to be going out there and just ripping. I think he'll probably stick with what he's got. Because the way Michael Maguire would probably look at it, he's going to trust his defence. He's going to say, you know what? If we're not firing an attack because it's a bit, stop-start or whatever, I'm going to trust that we'll be able to repel them long enough for me to make a change. So let's say for the first 20 minutes, we can't score any points. He's going to trust that they're not going to score any points. And then he's going to, okay, look, I've given Reynolds and Benny Hunt 20 to 30 minutes. It's not working. Ezra, you're on. Hunter at 9. Reynolds, you're at 7. I think that's probably what he's going to look at to do.
And from the Storm side of things, Harry Grant, I mean, he's the key to it all. Is it possible, in the same way that it's not possible to really set a system for Payne Haas, is it possible to set a system to focus on the guy that's going to have his hands on the footy basically every time you get to a ruck?
I mean, I'd love to say there is, but I'm sure every coach has tried and he can't. Because the problem is that the reason why Harry Grant kills it most times is because he just needs a half quick play the ball. And the thing with a half quick play the ball, that's coming from a half quick play the ball comes from a system that's failed. You know what I'm saying? Like that, it's a system that you haven't made the right contact, you haven't won the wrestle. Now all of a sudden you can't have a system for a system that's failed kind of thing, because you're basically going to have to each tackle have a system predicting that the other system's going to fail and be ready for it. So that's what makes it so hard. Whereas like you can have a system for Reece Walsh, because you can just choose to jam in and just say, you know what, if someone wants to score outside him, fine. There are systems to deal with that. But yeah, trying to defend against Harry Grant, it's just almost impossible. Seriously, his ability to also his ability to run across the line and everyone just looks at him. And he'll just run a metre near the opposition. Whereas any other number 9 does that, the ball gets hit out of his hand, he throws a silly pass, whatever. But Harry Grant just looks like he's almost playing touch footy at times.
He's moving through time differently to everyone else, isn't he?
And you just go, oh, mate, someone tackle him. But if you shoot up our line, he'll do something to make you pay. Look, the good thing about this grand final, and maybe it's not for the wider audience that doesn't like the Broncos or the Melbourne Storm, but there are so many good storylines here. Like Bellyache gets a win without the big 3. Harry Grant gets his first premiership. Munster's incredible story throughout the year. It'll go, Queensland win, potentially Storm win, and then if he goes away with Australia as well, he could have the Ashes. I think Darren Lockyer did that in 2006. And then on the Broncos side, there have been, I know the Broncos are probably one of the most hated teams in the competition, but I do think there is a small amount of people going, you know what, it's a different young breed. They are entertaining to watch. It'll be a different person winning the premiership. They haven't won a premiership in 20 years. So there's a lot to like here. There's a lot to like.
One other factor that I want to quiz you on, Ashley Klein has not been given this grand final. Got a lot of criticism from Craig Fitzgibbon, who said, hey, Storm were the better team, they won the game. But 18 penalties is too many in a preliminary final. The fact he's not doing the game and Grant Atkins is, the fact that there will likely be less penalties blown than there was even in last year's grand final. Does that favour either team?
Yeah, just wait, just a correction. The Lockie stat was 98 games won
Yes.
from 12 points. Apologies, not 98 points, because that 98 points would be like 2 games. Yeah, so the penalties were just ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like, we can't have the jewel in our crown played like that.
No.
And look, I always say I know it's a tough job to be a ref. I get it. It's a thankless job.
Yes.
It really is. I always say it's the weirdest job ever, because the better you do, the less you notice.
Yes.
The worse you do, the more you notice. But a ref's job isn't there to dominate the fixture. Whereas I just feel with Ashley Klein, and if it was a one-off game where it happened, I wouldn't be saying anything. Mate, this happened in Origin 2. He gave away 2 penalties in the first set of Origin 1. Bro, what are we talking about here? Like, offside penalties and holding down. Like, if that is an example of a ref trying to impose his will on a game, I don't know what else is. The ref is not there to be the center of attention. The players are there to be the center of attention. You are just there to be bumper bars at a bowling alleyway. You're just the bumper bars. Just guide them in the right direction. When you need to get them back in line, you're not there to say, unless you play the way I tell you to play, I'm just going to keep blowing penalties. It's just, I couldn't believe what I was watching. Like, and then people go like, oh, well, that was technically a penalty. That was technically a penalty. Bro, you would find penalties in every play of the ball if you could. I reckon, genuinely, not even being facetious, 2 penalties a set you could find.
Yeah.
Easy. People are always offside.
In a game like that, particularly.
Mate, you easy could. So I'm glad that, and like, what's funny is, like, I disagreed with so many decisions that Atkins made against the Broncos. Like, I thought he was it felt like he was so pro Penrith, but whatever. But I was still way more happy with that.
Yep.
You know why? Because he just let it play.
Yep.
And if Penrith had to beat us, okay, I would have been like, oh, damn, we didn't get those calls. But at least he let it play. And so, like, for example, when that whole scuffle happened, like, as a Broncos fan, if you're biased, you're sitting there going, well, Cleary definitely should have gone, and Martin should have gone.
Yep.
Maybe Ezra should have gone. We should have been one player up there. Cleary and Martin, like, that's a huge win for us. But I don't want that. I don't want them to get sent 10 in the bin. And so what did he do? He said, you know what? He made the brave call and said, listen, we're in a prelim. We're all about to witness one of the greatest games of all time. Like, imagine if he had because he was too scared to make the tough call, sent Cleary and Martin off. We wouldn't be talking about one of the greatest games we've ever seen. Because Atkins made the tough call of going, come on, there's a bit of push and shove. Who gives a crap? We're here to put on a good performance. And he did. So as I said, this is coming from a guy that didn't agree with a lot of his calls, but he was reffing in the spirit that you were supposed to ref a game. I'll always be okay with not getting 50-50 calls or even a howler. Like, if a howler happens in play, I'll cop it because everything's happening so fast. It's just the video ref stuff.
Yeah.
That's what kills me where I'm just like, bruh, come on. So I'm stoked for Atkins. I think he's been rewarded for understanding this is what the game needs right now. What do you reckon?
No, I completely concur with everything. And that's why I put it to you. Last question. Does it favour either team? Is there one side that will want the game stopping and starting less?
Well, finally, like a lot of people assume the Storm, but the Storm haven't been like that for years. They haven't been that kind of team for years.
That was my thought as well.
Like they were that team in 2015. They are not that team anymore. No. They are ball in play, run and gun through the. They want the ruck going as quickly as possible. If anything, it would actually probably suit the Broncos more because they're so big and powerful, and their forward pack can just roll them down the field. However, a fatigued defensive line is Reece Walsh's, dessert. So, look, I think both teams you could look for positives and negatives. Yeah. I think that both teams, the good thing is you can see there really is a clear path of victory for both sides.
Yeah.
That's what makes this so exciting. For me personally, I think it's a coin toss. Like, I genuinely believe that there shouldn't be, like, I understand why Storm are favourites because of the year or whatever, but I genuinely believe it's a coin toss. Like, I think it's going to be a super exciting super exciting grand final. I cannot wait. All right, we're going to head to a break. After break, plenty more to talk about, including the Storm versus Sharks on the weekend. Welcome back to the Captain's Run. Just got a text here. Kempy, can you read that Lockie stat again? You rattled me. Okay, so the stat is, after being 12 or more points up since 2020, the Panthers have gone on to win 96 games and only drawing 2, and they've lost 0. So they have not lost a game since 2020 when they are 12 or more points up. That is an outrageous stat. That is, like, honestly mind-blowing stat. How's that even possible? Like, you're telling me one game they didn't just, like, you know what, let's pack her up, boys, and Well, what it is, so like this year alone, the Broncos have chased down deficits of 14 points or more 5 times this year. Just this year alone. The Panthers have literally not lost a game since 2020. If they're 12 or more ahead, that's like, it's 2 tries, bro. Like 1 try and you're in it. It's just crazy. Just shows you how dominant they've been. Like they have just set a whole new standard. Like what's crazy is like, a lot of people go, they've been knocked out and they look tired and whatever. Bro, if you put on that kind of performance after 5 years of complete dominance, after everything that they've been through, and that's what you look like when you're tired, it just shows you the standard they've put together. It is just second to none. Unbelievable run. And, the dynasty's over. The dynasty's definitely not over because those young guys to this year, they're going to be even better next year. Like, they only need to be 5% better. Not even that. They just need to be 2 points better, and they'd be in a grand final right now. You telling me those young fellas can't get 2 points better? 1 tackle here or 1 tackle there? Absolutely they can. Matter of fact, I'd argue they can get more than 2 points better. So they are still absolutely a problem to consider. Alrighty, we're going to head to a break. After break, we'll wrap up the first hour, and they've got a huge second hour plan. Welcome back to the Captain's Run. We're here for Chemist Warehouse. The Chemist Warehouse half-price vitamins sale is on now. Alrighty, on the weekend, the Sharkies went down to the Melbourne Storm. Now, we've spoken a bit about the Melbourne Storm. What I liked about the Melbourne Storm and what's exciting for the Melbourne Storm is that it was their most consistent 80 minutes. However, I still actually think they got more in them. Like, I don't think that's the best the Storm can play. I think they can actually play better than that. But the good thing is they didn't really fade in and out defensively or fade in and out with errors. So I actually think the Storm have got a lot to look forward to. Funnily enough, they've been more consistent than the Broncos this year, but they've actually been a little bit similar-ish. Like they're almost like the flip of each other. So, for example, Storm come out, they'll score 20 points on you, and then they'll let you into the game, and then you instead of winning 30-6, they'll win 30-16 or something like that. Whereas Broncos are the opposite, whereas they'll let their team get out by 14, 15, 16 points and then chase them down to the end. But regardless of the opposite ends, they're similar in the sense that they haven't really been super, super consistent throughout the whole season. So that's going to be, I guess, both fans are sitting there going, what team turns up? Is it the red-hot Broncos that can score 1 million tries? Is it the red-hot Storm that can score 1 million tries? Are we going to be watching, round 1 Storm that was scoring 60 points and they literally made a line break every time they ran the ball? That's a really intriguing battle. We will not be lacking for good attack in this grand final. I think that last year's grand final was a defensive masterclass. I think this year's grand final is going to have some of the better attack. I really do. Now, onto the Sharkies. I'm really happy with where the Sharkies are. I know there was still people really negative on them. Last year, they went down to Melbourne and got absolutely towed up by the Storm. They weren't even close to winning that game. They make a prelim this year, go straight down there. Mate, they were in it up to their eyeballs. If Nico Trindle and Adam Fanor-Blake, with about 20 to go, had taken the game by the scruff of the neck, they had all the field position, just completed and built some pressure, there's a real chance they win that game. Look, I still think Storm would have done enough to win it, but I'm saying they were in the fight. And, what more can you ask from your team other than improvement every year? I know we have these fairy tale stories of teams coming from, from 14th up to 2nd, and they go on this crazy run or whatever, but I don't think you can be harsh on a team that's improved every single year since the new coach got there. And not just improved, he hasn't gone 15th to 14th to 13th. He's gone from, I think, 10th, 9th or 10th, basically locked himself in the top 4. Granted, I know some years he was 5th or whatever, but essentially locked himself in the top 4 and stayed there. And then when it comes to finals footy, he's just gotten progressively better. So, yeah, I totally understand that there's going to be times where, this should have been better and you could, that play could have been better from the Sharkies, and in the big moments, just need to, hold a bit more of their nerve. They're not perfect at all. They're furthest thing from it, but they've gotten better. So I actually think the Sharks should be really, really proud of their season. What do you reckon, Maestro?
I'm interested on how they take their next step now, right? Because they had the slow start to the season, couldn't get their halves partnership right. Once that came together, I think they won 7 of their last 8. They had a good run home. You're right, they got closer to the Storm this time around. Everyone was talking about Adam Fanor-Blake. Would that be the move to take them to the next level? The core of their side is locked in long term. I'm talking 3-4 years down the track with the Brayley signing this year, with Hines signed long term, Trindle signed long term now. So that's...
You forgot one key person, though. Kennedy is not signed for next year.
not signed long term.
And so that's where I think you're probably going to find some movement at the Sharkies.
Okay.
I think that...
Any whispers?
Well, no whispers, but, like, he's not signed for next year. And so what I reckon the Sharkies are looking at, like, I think they've probably identified, and I feel sorry for Kennedy because he's been quite solid, but I think they've identified that he's probably not the guy to take him to the next step. So they've gone, okay, is there anyone on the market in 2027? Sorry, 6? No, there's not. So maybe we give him a 1-year extension and then we bring in some for 2027. I guess the only problem with that is, though, is they're in their window now. Like, you know, Hines will be, by the time he's in 2028, Hines will be like 32 or something.
Yep.
Like, so it's not like they're getting younger. Granted, with the way the game's going, Jesus, like you can play to your bloody 100 these days. And so I reckon I think that it's most likely the fullback they'll look towards. In the forwards, like maybe another forward, but I reckon they've got some young guys coming through that have been all right. So it's probably the fullback position they're going to look to. Because, like, you know, we look at the Penrith, like Penrith Panthers. Like, imagine the Sharkies if they had Dylan Edwards at the back.
Yeah.
Or Pappy. Or Reece Walsh. Or any of these top-tier sides. Mate, that's the thing that the Sharkies never get credit for is, like, they're playing with this roster that at a lot of other clubs would not be in the starting side. You know, like, and that's just reality. So, yeah, I'm really happy with it. I do agree with you, though, that they probably do need to recruit to take that next step. I think that Fitzy is, like, squeezed the absolute every bit of potential he can out of them. We got a text here. I was about to actually bring him up. Jai Gray. I think Jai Gray is a great, like, a really, really good signing if they could get him. Got another text here. DK, I'm pretty sure it was 3 tries apiece. Nico missed kicks and Storm penalty helped Storm. Yeah, and that's what I mean. Like, there are some people like, they absolutely need a recruitment overhaul because there's no way they can get to the next step. It's like, they weren't that far off, guys. Like, are you telling me that a bounce of the ball goes there? Like, for example, what if the Nikora try was a penalty try?
Yeah.
All of a sudden, it's a different story. Like, we're looking at a completely different game. And so, like, I'm not in the camp of, like, they're so far away that they desperately need to upgrade. Now, would it be good to get another, like, a fullback? Maybe. But I still think that, like, this team, as it stands, can they win a grand final? Like, probably not. Like, probably. But can they get to a grand final? I think they've proven this year that they probably can. They probably can.
There's some really interesting names that Mitch is just getting across to us now that are off contract in 2027. Scott Drinkwater.
Ooh.
Clint Gutherson, I think, probably past it by then. Lehigh Hopewade and Clayton Falolo, both off contract at Manly.
Wow.
Isaiah Yongi, off in 2027. Ryan Pappenhausen, we just talked about the R360 stuff, but obviously that 1-year extension with Melbourne leaves him on the open market. Kalen Ponga's there as well, if he's still at the Knights in 2026 even. But there's some interesting ones. And then the other bit of mail that got thrown up this week was that Fitzy was spotted meeting with Daly Cherry Evans, which I think that's probably a very long bow to try and string together, but that would be an interesting one. You shift Nico back to fullback and play DCE there.
We got a few texts in regards to that. Oh, mate, what's the rush to move Nick? Nico feels like he's the only 7. He's the only halfback in the game that can make back-to-back prelims, and everyone's like he's not a 7. I don't get it, bro. It makes there's no other 7 that have there's no other 7 that even gets considered to be moved, and they're coming like 10th or 12th or like I just don't get it. It's like a groupthink thing. Like all the headlines have come out so often that everyone's just been brainwashed into like, oh yeah, he's not a 7. It's like, bro, he's made back-to-back prelims.
And I don't think there's any argument that half partnership, when it's fit, firing together, it's top 4 in the competition.
It's a good, solid spine. It just, maybe the fullback's the only area that you could improve a little bit. But like, again, we're talking about a number 7 that went essentially within a try of beating the Melbourne Storm in Melbourne. That went down to Canberra and beat the minor premiers handedly, might I add, in Canberra. Roosters was supposed to be the dark horse. Like, no one sits in and goes, oh, Sam Walker's not a 7. Like, the Roosters have played 2 finals games since 2022. Like, and yet the Sharkies is always about the 7. I don't get it. I really don't get it. And you look at the Sharkies' resume, like, it goes Penrith the most finals games, Storm, Broncos, they're 4th. The Sharkies have played the 4th amount of finals games since Craig Fitzgibbon arrived at the club.
In this terrific era as well. Like, there are some great teams around the comp.
Mate.
The Sharks just need to find the way to put themselves at that echelon.
Yeah, that's what I'm always so confused.
Ask.
How they're a tiny club with no Origin players, and yet they cop flack like they're the Brisbane Broncos or the Roosters. Like, and that's coming from me. Like, let's say you take out this year, and you looked at the Broncos' last 5 years. I agree. That's so underachieving. Like they absolutely. I'll probably say this till I die. The wooden spoon that the Broncos won was the worst wooden spoon in history. And some people say, oh, there was other ones because they're cheating the cap. Bro, go and look at that side, and you tell me whether that side should ever, with all the resources they had, with everything they've got at that club, should ever come near a wooden spoon. Never should have happened. So, like, I understand being hypercritical of the big dog clubs, but someone like the Sharkies who are battling and sitting in fourth, mate, I think that they should be really proud of where they're at. Now, in regards to some of the other teams over the weekend, as in the weekend before, actually, we'll talk about Penrith Panthers.
Yeah.
Heading into next year, like, I think it's pretty obvious what they do. Like, what's scary about the Panthers is that it's the first year they haven't lost anyone. And, like, you know, I said from the get-go, and I was wrong in some degrees and I was right in other degrees. So my concern with the Panthers was, at around round 12 order, I said, listen, I might have even said they can't make the 8. I'll just say, I said they can't make the 8 because they can't upskill their juniors quick enough. So I was wrong, definitely wrong with that. But what I wasn't wrong with was they clearly couldn't upskill their rookies quick enough, because in that prelim, it probably was their rookies that struggled a little bit. So what's scary, though, for the Panthers is heading into next year with a whole preseason at 6, Blaise Talangi, with Casey McLean, more confident than ever. Alamotti is absolutely flying at the moment. You got Jenkins in backup, To'o on the wing. I mean, they are going to be unbelievably tough to deal with next year. Like, they are going to be super, super tough.
Is depth at all an issue? Like, when you look at the reason they started the season so poorly with the injuries and the fact that they seem to have so many guys getting pulled in for Origin stints, they lose a bit of momentum through the middle of the year, but they've showed a couple of times now that they're able to overcome that and plant themselves in the premiership picture again. Is there any question about that? Or do you look at the guys that are fighting to get in that squad? You mentioned Tom Jenkins. That's a great example. Up front, is there any concerns?
Nah, Papali'i, they've moved. I always thought Papali'i was good in the middle there. I didn't like him on the edge.
Yep.
They've moved him in the middle. Ever since they've moved him in the middle, it's completely sorted out their front row rotation. Liam Henry's getting older, as in, like, getting more experience. He's quite young. Lindsay Smith is outstanding, so consistent. Like, they are just set, bro. Like, they are so set to go again next year. And then, honestly, if you had them for your favourites to win the comp next year, I wouldn't push back against you that hard.
We'll have a look at that next week after we get the way too early grand final markets for 2026.
I wouldn't push back. All right, got a text here. Beat, you need to pump the brakes on Sharks nearly beating the Storm last week. I didn't say they nearly beat them. I said they were close, like it was a close-ish game. You seem to be forgetting they scored their last try in the final minute when the lead wasn't in danger. They were levels below Storm last week, and Storm probably left 4 or 5 tries on the field. Bro, I don't know how you can say a team that loses 4 tries to 3 wasn't pretty close. Like, it wasn't a solid, decent game. Levels below, and the score was 22-14. Come on, bro. Look, I get it. You're a Storm fan. I get it, but, like, it was a relatively close game. And you obviously watched the game. Are you telling me that you were sitting easy with 20 to go and Sharkies were pumping your line? Were you sitting there going, we're levels above this? Come on, bro. You weren't sitting there doing that at all. You were sitting there going, oh my God, what's happening right now? So, like, Storm were definitely the better side. Like, there's no denying that. But it was a relatively close-ish game. Not super close, but, you know, bounce of the ball goes either way. As I said, Nikita gets a head-high tackle. I personally think they should have at least considered that for a penalty try. I probably wouldn't have given it just because Munster was there. But I think they should consider it. But, like, let's say they did, because I wouldn't have been that against it either. All of a sudden, that's 6 points right there. Then it's 22. It'd be 22 to 20. Yeah. Finishing the game. So, anyway, look, we're going to head to a break. After break, we've got plenty to talk about, including the Dally M's. Welcome back to the Captain's Run. Oh, you blow my mind sometimes. The text line blows my mind. We always talk about how, like, if the Sharks could, like, beat Muhammad Ali in a fight, and there'd still be a reason why they won it. Now, here's a text here from Dunny. He might have been a Raiders fan. Denon, the Raiders side was there for the taking after the week before, not the best Raiders side, not even close. So they win an elimination final. It's just like, nah. They did it at Canberra. Nah, not that good. Not that good. Anyway, we've got some the Dally M's, guys. The Dally M's. Now, look, I'll be honest. For a long time, I was like, Tedesco's going to win by a record margin.
Ooh.
However, before they went behind closed doors, Payne Haas was only 23. Whereas I think Tedesco was 27 or something like that.
Yeah.
And then when I saw that, I was like, okay, well, mate, Payne Haas has essentially been our best player every single game. Maybe Reece Walsh took some points here or there. I'm trying to think injury-wise, he didn't have many weeks off. So I just wonder, look, granted, Tedesco literally probably got it for every single game he played for the Roosters. But I don't know. I just wonder whether that's going to kind of sneak up a little bit and Payne Haas might be a smarky. Smoky.
Smoky.
A smarky. I read sharks and I was like, a smarky.
They're sitting in your brain at the moment, aren't they? Are you still happy with the way that we vote for this, doing the 3-2-1s at every game with two different judges now to try and eliminate some of the, I guess, limit the chance of getting games markedly wrong? Are you a fan of that, or would you prefer to put it to a vote at the end of the season with journos, fans, coaches, everybody in one pool voting for the player they think's been the best over the course of the season? This would be a historic win for Teddy. Like, to win two is massive.
Definitely not voting. Definitely not at the end of the year because then recency bias would just kill it.
Okay.
What I've never understood is we've got this, like, it is the pinnacle of rugby league. Like, it is, we talk about it all year long. It's like, it truly changes people's lives. Like, outside of winning a grand final, on reps or whatever, like, that is really, like, to be able to go and say, I have a Dally M, that is just like, what I can never understand is the NRL, with such an important part of the game, it's such a special part of the game, why they wouldn't set aside a little budget of, a few $100,000, if that, and hire 3 or 4 people or 5 people or whatever, and you just rotate them, and they're the ones that get assigned games throughout the year. So, it's their job to watch the games.
Yep.
Like, they're sitting there, they've got the stats there, they've got everything there. They are just watching the game. It's all there to be seen. Whereas, like, the way we're kind of doing it now, like, did they really watch it that closely? I'm not sure. Whereas if you're saying we're paying you to watch it, so if you come back and Reece Walsh had 6 try assists, but friggin' someone else got the 6 points or whatever, like, come on, bro. So I reckon we should set aside a few $100,000, pay and also like an expert team too.
Yeah.
Someone like, whether it's ex-players or whatever, and I'm sure there are some ex-players out there that would love an extra $1,000 a week or whatever, and all they got to do is watch 3 games. Watch 3 games of footy. I watch 8. I'm still here, not dead. Watch 3 games a week, and then you just sit there and go 3-2-1 or whatever. I just think that's the best way to do it because, like, I feel like we don't really even monetize it well enough either. No. Like, there's so many parts of our game we don't monetize well, like origin selection, the Dally M's, and all that kind of stuff. So I personally think they should pay someone to do it. What do you reckon, mate?
No, I like the end of year voting. I like the get as many into a pool that have been watching all year. You get, because the thing about these games for me, Den, is they don't happen in a vacuum.
Yep.
Like, there's circumstances surrounding everything. Cam Munster's year this year is a good example of that. Hasn't been at the top every week, but has performed really, really well for the Storm. I'm not saying he should win it this year, but I think he's an example of someone who won't show up in the votes come this week, and I think he's been one of the 5-10 top players this season. That's
Cam Munster.
Cam Munster? Okay.
Not for the season.
Not for the season?
Nah, no way.
Okay.
But that's a beautiful opinion, mate. That's a beautiful opinion. I'll tell you what, on the weekend he was unbelievable. Yeah. He was unbelievable.
And the fact that forwards, for example, don't win this award ever. Jason Taumalolo is the outlier. They don't get a look in. And someone like Payne Haas, for example, I think you can make that argument as someone who's going to have points taken off him. The fact that teams that win the competition generally don't have players win the Dally M because you are the outstanding player in your team picking up votes week on week. I think the fact that Nathan Cleary is still not one of these
proves it. Darren Lockyer
proves the fact that it's not as accurate as it could be. It's a marker of history.
So that's where I do agree with you.
Yeah.
So in regards to giving the votes, I think that what I said before, what we should do. But I do agree with you. The system that is there, it doesn't help the better teams. Like the fact that Darren Lockyer and Nathan Cleary, hasn't won a Dally M is outrageous, bro. Like, outrageous. Now, I understand he's been injured and all that kind of stuff, but there's got to be some kind of
Well, you look at the
better
first
system.
premiership. The first premiership year is the one where you go. He was outstanding that entire season.
Yep. So yeah, like I understand that from that perspective. It's a tough one. Like I don't know
Every
how you
system
fix
has
it,
its
though.
flaws.
Yeah,
right?
every system has its flaw. It really does. But yeah, look, I just think that we can. There's so many parts of our game we can monetize better. But anyway, in regards to the Dally M.
Yep.
Okay, so here are some of the selections. Actually, you know what? Yeah, we'll do some of the selections, then we'll go to the break and we'll come back and sort it out. So Dally M, Tedesco is the favourite fullback. Look, I don't even think it's like bother even talking about anyone else. He will definitely win. Coach of the Year, Ricky Stewart, Serraldo, and Michael Maguire. I cannot believe Ivan Cleary wasn't at least nominated.
That's another one. Not that I think we talked about this last week. Coach of the Year, it's a nice little feather to have in your cap, but that's not what coaches are looking for to measure their careers on.
Nah, but it's still like the fact that he's only won one Coach of the Year, it's crazy.
It's the same as Nathan, right?
Okay, centres that have been, put forward. Now, guys, there's going to be some huge names missing, but that's because if you get suspended, matter of fact, I want to speak about that right now. We need to change this suspension rule when it comes to Dally M. These rules about suspension were brought in when the game was totally different. These rules were brought in when you could charge a bloke in the head and everyone would cheer and say, what a great hit. Now, if you touch a bloke's head and you go for, or you accidentally land on someone's ankle, it's not an intentional hip drop, you just flung around the back and you land it, and you're out for 2 or more weeks, you can't win a Dally M or a Dally M position. We have to change those rules. It's crazy to me that a guy can fall on someone's heel in round 1, miss 2 weeks, and then he misses out on the opportunity of a lifetime. It just doesn't make any sense. Why we've become so much more precautious in our punishments. Why doesn't our rules reflect that then? Why doesn't the Dally M system reflect that in the sense that you are much more likely to be suspended now than you are in the past? Therefore, we need to make it a bit more lenient as to how whether a suspension should occur. Like, listen, if you get suspended for 4 or 6 weeks, then it's that is foul play. I'm not suggesting that a suspension shouldn't take away from you getting selected. But if it's really innocuous stuff that it's just a slip up of an arm or a landing on the back of an ankle or something like that, that's just part of the game. And it's only been created because the rules have changed. It never used to be like that. And so I think they've got to change it. They've got to change that to make it fairer on people. Because basically what you're doing is you're basically increasing the likelihood. The more aggressive you are, the less chance you have to win a Dally M because you're treading that line kind of thing.
And it's self-policing in a way because the suspension rules you out of a game or two
punishment.
anyway.
Yeah,
there's your punishment.
Yep.
You can't earn points in those weeks, so it's double jeopardy.
Yeah, and as I said, listen, if you want to if there's a suspension 4 to 6 weeks and it's bad, it's he shot up out of the line, swing an arm into the jaw, broke the guy's jaw, 100%. Stuff like that, they definitely don't deserve to be wearing such an honoured prize. But other stuff, we just got to be a bit smarter with it. We really do because it's so much stuff we could tweak with the Dally M's because it's such a great. It's already great. I'm not saying it's not great now, but it could be even better. All right, we're going to go to a break. And when we come back from the break, we're going to go through the Dally M. Basically, the people that have been put forward for Dally M Team of the Year. Welcome back to the Captain's Run. All right, let's get straight into it. We're going to coach you. Rookie of the Year, Leka Halasima, Iyongi, and Robert Toya. Team of the Year nominations, Tedesco, Kyle Weeks, Reece Walsh at fullback, Casey McLean, Robert Toya, Herbie Farnworth, Crichton, Tony Staggs in the centres. Wingers, Nwanga Nituwase, Savage, Kiraz, Lomax, Coates. The one that stood out the most here is Toto didn't even get nominated. I understand he missed, I think, 7 games or something like that, but not even nominated. You're telling me that every single player here that's been nominated had a better year than Brian Toto? He's a victim of his own, how good he is.
Excellence.
There is no way in hell that everyone there had a better year than Brian Toto. Very, very strange that. 5'8", Cam Munster, Burton, Ethan Strange, halfback Cleary, Katoa, Fogarty. Katoa's another one that could be a smoky for a Dally M because he has been easily the Dolphins' best most of the year. And he was on 23 points towards when they went behind closed doors. Hooker, Coruscant, Blake Brayley, Tom Starling. Harry Grant was suspended, so he can't be selected for it. Props, Adam Fanua-Blake, Stefano, Josh Papali, Terrell May, and Payne Haas. Joe Tarpiner, he has also been suspended, so he can't be put forward. Second rowers, Liam Martin, Angus Crichton, Leka Halasima, Hudson Young, Elise Katoa. Interesting, the Halasima is also put forward for the back row of the year. That's how good he was. Lock, Aaron Clark, Isaiah Yeo, and White from the Roosters. A bit surprised, Carrigan didn't even get a
look in.
Didn't even get a look in.
Remember at the start of the year, there was some questions about how well he was playing, his form?
Well, he started at front row. No, sorry. He started at front row, Kobe Hetherington, and then they moved him back to 13. But look, to be honest, there's only a couple games where he looked a bit tired. Outside of that, he's been quite solid, at least. Anyway, in regards to this side, Maestro, speak to me. Who you reckon, fullback, centre, all that kind of stuff?
Well, so the clear one at fullback is going to be Teddy. He's going to win the Dally M, so I think he's a shoe-in there. I think Crichton will be... I think they'll be hard-pressed to go past him, given how many points he'll have picked up for the Bulldogs. McLean's an interesting one. I don't know if he's had the sustained excellence of someone like a Herbie Farnworth. The fact Staggs has found his way in there, don't get me wrong, he's been outstanding. But I was a little bit surprised to see him amongst the nominees. I think Crichton's a shoe in there. You can take your pick of the others. Ngoni Tawase, what a rise he's had in the wing spots. I think he's going to be probably there along with, can Lomax win it, being so low down with the Eels, but the fact he'll probably have picked up points in that position. Interesting given his status at the moment. Munster is nominated. Burton, Strange. I don't have a strong opinion on 5'8". I'd be happy with most of those guys winning it. I think Katoa is the outstanding candidate for halfback. Hooker, Brayley, the way that he has come on this year, rewarded with a contract extension for the Sharks, named as captain towards the end of the year. I think he's the outstanding candidate there. Fanua Blake, these props. I mean, Fanua Blake, Papali'i, to win it, given the fact that he was looking very close to retirement at some point this year. I think that would be terrific to see him get in there. And Payne Haas, obviously, is probably the front rower in that position. Second rowers, Eli Katoa. What a year.
Lock him in. Guarantee.
Crichton's interesting given the fact his form did fall off towards the end of the year.
Got to be Hudson Young.
Hudson Young?
Got to be Young Katoa. Anyone else is the wrong answer.
And then the lock is a bit of a weaker one. This was Aaron Clark. Happy to have him there.
If Aaron Clark doesn't win it, we riot. He's been the most consistent 13 this year.
Name first there. I'm expecting him to pick up the award as well, Kempy. You got any strong differences of opinion across that team?
I do in the centres. I can't believe Kohler hasn't been nominated. He won Player of the Year for Manly.
Yeah.
And he can't even get nominated for Centre of the Year. Again, sometimes I'm like, the people did they watch every game? There is no way you could watch Manly play and not think that he should at least be nominated for Centre of the Year. How do you win a club's Player of the Year? And what did they come, 11th or something like that?
Yeah, just outside.
So it's not like you're 16th or whatever. You're one or two wins from the 8, and you win the club's Player of the Year, and you don't even get nominated for a... that just doesn't make any sense to me.
Against some guys that have had up and down years.
Yeah,
I agree.
Casey McLean's first half of the year was really poor because he was a junior, he was learning the ropes. Obviously, the back end was great. Rob Toyer has been solid at centre this year for the Roosters, but he hasn't been put it this way, if he didn't play Origin, he would be a good, solid young fella coming through learning his game, which is good. That's fine. That's what you want. So, look, I don't have any issue with Toyer and McLean being there at all, or Staggs. I think you just probably add Cooler there, just out of a bit of a...
Even that up.
I just wonder with Manly, just because, not out of sight, out of mind, but everything's going on there, and is that why? If he was at a bigger club, does he get put in there?
And the fact that is the vote system as well, right? You've got big name players in there that voters are attracted to.
I will say I don't think this is through votes.
Okay.
So they changed it. It used to be that,
okay.
I think, but I think the team is not through votes, or maybe it's guided through votes, but they actually can overcall it.
Okay.
Pretty sure, but check that for me.
Yeah, we'll do.
Because only reason I think that is because I was the same as you, I think last year or something like that. But check it because I definitely could be wrong. Wingers, look, I think it's got to be Coates. It's probably got to be Nwangani Tuase, I think. Because he was pretty good at the start of the year, but then he just went to a whole nother level towards the end.
He lit up. Every game the Roosters won, he was the standout.
Yeah, yep. So wingers, those two. 5'8", I'd probably go Ethan Strange. Halfback, definitely Isaiah Katoa, not even close. Api Coruscant, Blake Brayley. I'd go Blake Brayley for sure, the hooker. Props, I'll be going Terrell May and Payne Haas. And second row, I'd be going Hudson Young and Katoa. And lock, I'd be going Aaron Clark.
So here we go, voting on Team of the Year. Judges who are giving out the 3-2-1s in particular games also vote for their best player in each respective position throughout the season, deciding who is named. So I think they're voting week on week on the player who is the best in their position in each game. Does that make sense?
What? So for every game, they go, okay, sorry, for the whole weekend, they say this guy was the best of the weekend? For the whole...
That's what I've got in front of me. It's not clear. It's about as clear as mud.
Because I promise you, I can promise you this.
Get that clarified.
I promise you this. These judges are not watching every single game.
Yeah.
I guarantee you that. So that doesn't make any sense.
And if players come in the top 3 of the overall leaderboard in the Dally M race, they automatically earn selection in their respective position. So
and then they can add after that.
Exactly.
So it's a mixture of both. It's the points, but then they can also go, we believe this guy should be in there. Okay, makes sense. Got some text here. So the top 3 from the Dally M votes automatically. Okay, it's exactly what the... Yeah, so it's a mixture of both. It's a mixture of both. Because I remember a couple of years ago, there was someone that got in there that people were like, oh, he only played X amount of games, so he's not going to be there. But then the NRL were like, no, he's got to be there. He's been unbelievable kind of thing. So I think that is the best, fairest system.
Yep.
Because, like, sometimes you let's say you're in a team of all guns, and let's say you've got 3 guns in your team and you're the 4th best player. You get like 0 votes all year long, but you could be the best center in the game.
Yeah.
So I think that's really good what they've done there. Alrighty, we're going to head to a break. After break, plenty more to talk about, so stay tuned. Welcome back to the Captain's Run, powered by Launtel Internet. Launtel Internet, the best in all the land. Go to launtel.net.au/bloke. Use the code BLOKE. Get 7 days free plus $25 of credit. And you will not be disappointed. Best customer service 5 years in a row. Trust me. All you got to do is sign up. No credit cards needed. No contract. So it's no friction to signing up. And if you don't enjoy it, you just go. It's all good. Okay, got some text here. So the Cleary will get it over Katoa. Katoa faded at the back end of the year. Maybe the last couple of games, I'd say. But you look at all Katoa's stats, like essentially number 1 in try assists, number 2 in line break assists. Like, basically, he won all of the 7 stats except for like 1 or 2 that Cleary beat him in. And if the one that Cleary beat him in, he was like 1 or 2 behind. Like, I think that he played well enough for long enough. Because okay, so when you say he faded, was, what's that, round 18 maybe, or round 20 he faded? That's still 20 games where he was the best 7. But I'll check the stats during the break, just during the break, to see statistically if you can see the cutoff where he faded. But I still think Katoa will get it. I really do. Because, like, Cleary's been good this year, but he has been a little bit patchy. And when I say patchy, like, I don't mean he played good and then bad, but he's been, like, solid and then incredible. Solid, then incredible. Whereas Cleary's had years where he has just been incredible the whole time. I think there's probably going to be Katoa there. Did Luke Brooks win the Dally M? He won Dally M 7, I think. Dally M 7. Got another text here. You're right, Kempy. As it's not best and fairest, they lose the chance to get points when suspended, and someone suspended a lot won't get enough points anyway. As it from DY. Absolutely, mate. Absolutely. Alrighty, what we're going to do is we're going to head to a break. And when we get back here, we're going to wrap up this second hour, and then Skipper Scope joins us. Welcome back to the Captain's Run. Got plenty more text here. Kempy, they should add a new award to Dally M's. Best blow-up. I think Moses gets that one. Or I think Bellamy, he'd be surely a coach is nominated. If coaches are nominated, I think that you're right. DK, you and I know the Dally M doesn't mean much. The best player of the year is not the Dally M winner. Lockie would have won plenty if it was judged on greatness. Injury, suspension determines the outcome. Teddy is also out of the Kangaroos tool. This broke yesterday, I think. Look, I think there's been a bit of, backlash or whatever for some people. This is a tough one. Like, I understand people that go, it's not his wedding, it's his best mate's wedding. I do think context matters, though. Like, if it was a rookie, or even like in the first few years of his career, I would be a bit more like, what's going on here? Like, mate, if you get offered to play for Australia, I'm sure your best mate, the story of him saying my best mate was playing for his country is much more riveting than he came to my thing, best man speech. Whereas, like, with Teddy, he's in this unique situation where, Rep Footy kind of put him aside. Like, Rep Footy kind of said to him, mate, you're done. We've got these young guys coming through. I know they didn't exactly say that. And so I think if there's someone that's earned the right to be able to say, I'm going to be back there for my wedding, I think Teddy's earned that right.
It's also a tough one, right? People are, oh, well, he knew the wedding was on. He wasn't the incumbent, right?
Yeah, no.
You talk about him being cast aside. Mal Meninga done just that for the Pacific Nations last year. So, he's not going to come out early in the year and go, all right, I'm not playing the Kangaroos tour.
Yeah.
I don't know I'm selected, but I'm not playing.
Yeah, and also, like, his mates comes to him, can you be my best man? He'd be like, yeah, of course, because he would have been assuming I'm not going to be in the Australian side. And also, like, Reece Walsh is playing pretty bloody good. Like, even though I would have selected Teddy over Reece Walsh, but even then you could be sitting there going, they'll go with Reece Walsh. So it doesn't make any sense.
There was a lot of back and forth. We had the conversation a couple of weeks ago about
it's his brother.
Brother.
It's his brother. Well, yeah. Listen, if I had already played for Australia and if I was in Teddy's shoes, I absolutely would be going to my brother's wedding. Like, absolutely. Now, granted, as I said, if I was a rookie early in my career and I hadn't earned the right to, but he's earned the right in the Australian jersey to be able to do that, in my opinion.
Yes, I couldn't agree more. And, we've got those backups. Dylan Edwards should still be good to go. I do think it's worrying the amount of play. Like, I think this is more why the story became so big is because of the amount of players that have pulled themselves from contention for this UK Ashes tour, right? Which is pretty historic. First one in 20 years. It's not going to be easy to go over there and win. That's for sure. The English are right up for it. I think that's why it's made headlines more than the decision in its isolation.
Yeah, but it's because it's been rushed and put together, though. Like, they're getting paid peanuts. It's been the long... And, like, these Ashes tours, they weren't around when you were playing 27 games, or 26 games, 5 games or whatever. And then if you include Origin as well, like, mate, it's a different beast these days. To expect these boys, and I know, like, I would go away to play for country. It's an honour. I get all that. Get that stuff out of the way. It is still a massive ask after such a long season. Go, by the way, you've got to go away for another 5 weeks. Like, it's a lot. It is a lot.
We're still going to have a fairly good side.
Absolutely.
We've got that at fullback. You look in the halves, Munster will be there. Tino saying that he is going to play for Australia rather than go to Samoa this time around. I think that's an interesting watch ahead of next year's World Cup. And Teddy has said to Peter V'landys, apparently in this conversation, look, I'm still going to be picked for the World Cup next year. So if this form continues, he's going to be available. And that's, as much as this is a big event, that's going to be a massive showpiece on home soil next year.
I think it's funny with Teddy because, like, not long ago, everyone was saying Teddy's washed. Edwards is the man, he's up. And almost like very negative towards Teddy. And those same people that are negative towards Teddy are now saying, how dare you not want to play for Australia? Like, half the people brushed him from the New South Wales side, said he was, like, playing terribly.
I was one of them.
And yet, like, when he was playing for New South Wales, his last 2 series weren't great, but he was the best player on the field for 5 of those series. Mate, I've got no issue with Teddy. Brother's wedding. He's served his time for Australia. I think he's earned the right to be able to do it. What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to another episode of The Captain's Run, brought to you by Lontel, the best internet in all the land. Internet for the future. You only pay for what you use. No contracts, no credit cards. Go to lontel.net.au, LAUNTEL.net.au/bloke. All right, Skipper Scope. How you going, brother?
Beak, excited, pumped. Yeah. How you going, mate? I know you've been doing the show for the last couple of hours and the last couple of days. You don't sleep, Beak, by the way. You always putting out content. You always got something going on. But this is your week.
I know. Let me celebrate. You know what's crazy, so good, is that both of my sons are born in Broncos grand final years.
Oh,
that's so good. That's so good.
That is good. How are you feeling, mate? Do you get nervous still as an ex-Broncos player? Do you ride the wave? How are you feeling on Wednesday with 5 days to go?
I'm trying to get not ahead of myself because it just feels like it's meant to happen this year. It just feels like, and when I say that, I mean like Payne Haas has arrived. Like Reece Walsh looks more mature than ever. Benny Hunt's the yarn. Like there's just so much that it seems like fate is leading up to this moment. However, Craig Bellamy and Harry Grant scare the crap out of me. So I'm definitely more confident than going into Penrith though. Like Penrith year one, they just had so much experience and. Whereas this year we've played a grand final before, the boys look mentally as tough as anything. Like to think that we are one of the fittest sides in the comp, that gives me a lot of faith that we'll be able to hang in there for long minutes. But again, it's the Melbourne Storm. If that spine clicks, if they win the ruck, you are losing the game of rugby league.
Yeah. I wonder if mentally beating Penrith a week out from the GF, I wonder how they handle that. Because I reckon for a number of years, the last couple of years, all of us sort of sitting back going, gee, the pressure on Penrith to maintain this greatness and all that. Mate, they had a lot of teams beaten before they even played them.
Oh, absolutely.
So not to say, I don't want to take anything away from Penrith, but there are a number of games where, people talk about the pressure with Penrith. The pressure was on someone to step up to the plate and actually knock them out.
Yeah. Well,
remove them from the competition.
This is how good they were, and we spoke about it earlier. So since 2020, so Lockyer came up with this stat, since 2020, whenever the Panthers have been 12 or more points up, they've won 96 games, drawn 2, and lost 0.
Wow. What a stat.
That is insane, bro.
That's a good stat.
Like, that just shows you that if they get ahead, people just immensely beaten. They're just like, no, we can't win.
So you got that stat. For a while there, it seemed like the Broncos were just awful on Sunday afternoon and afternoon games. Penrith Nathan hasn't lost one since 2020 or something ridiculous as well. They tick that box. They actually knock out Penrith. But then when you drop the shoulders, all right, we've done it. We've ticked all, we've stopped this juggernaut. Arguably the probably more consistent team of not only just the last 5 years, but the last 20 years is now in front of them.
Yep.
And they're equally as desperate, mate. They're equally as desperate.
Harry Grant hasn't won a comp. Craig Bellamy hasn't done without the big three. Munster's year has been crazy with everything going on there. I will say, though, and look, mate, I probably am biased, but I'd make the argument that if Broncos do win it this year, it'll be one of the toughest runs that you could have possibly taken to win a premiership. Minor premiers the first week.
Yep.
The juggernaut dynasty of Penrith the next week. And then the premiership favourites for the year in the Melbourne Storm.
It's a good run.
Pretty tough run to get through, whereas the other side of the draw was a little bit not as hard,
Yeah, and Melbourne, I think even Melbourne would admit, getting the Bulldogs was probably the second best team to get in finals in the first week, other than maybe the Warriors.
Yeah. The Bulldogs are a bit of a smoke and mirrors in the finals because, and I actually spoke about this, so this is not hindsight, but you look at their back end of season form, it was bad.
It was rough, yeah.
Yeah,
they were sliding, like the Warriors.
Yeah, so I've said this, and I don't mean it disrespectfully, but by the time the Warriors and the Dogs got to finals footy, they were actually playing at the level of a bottom 8 side.
I do mean it disrespectfully.
And whether that's through injuries or whatever, I'm just saying. Whereas, so look, I cannot wait. Now, what's your two big talking points for the Storm and for the Broncos heading into this grand final?
So for the Storm, and I was discussing this with me mate Fozzie on our podcast on Sunday straight after the games, Kempy. We're trying to figure out for Melbourne, for Brisbane, trying to stop the running games of Jerome Hughes and Cam Munster. And I've been thinking about it now for the last 3 or 4 days when I've heard experts, podcasts, whatever, people talk about it. How? What do you do? Does someone have to smoke Cameron Munster? Even if you do, that's not going to limit his running game. He's still going to run. He's still going to have his 15 carries. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter if it's Payne Haas, Paddy Carrigan, or Xavier Wilson. They're still going to struggle to get him to the ground. Yep. He is super strong for a 6. Mm-hmm. And then off the back of that, he causes chaos, ruck interference, or lack of ruck control for the Brisbane Broncos. Mm. And then his little mate with the headgear on the right-hand side with Pappenhausen out the back, they have their joy. So you've got to be you've got to be controlled. Your technique has to be perfect on Munster.
I think the obvious answer to that would be you've got to have a really compressed defensive line because then he's landing in bodies, 3 bodies at once. The problem with that is as soon as Melbourne identify that you've compressed your line, they just go spin, spin, spin to the 3-in defender, and they've got Hughes on the other side that's ready to hit him behind the ruck. So I'm with you, mate. With Harry Grant at 9, now if there was another 9 that was not as good, I could say there are ways to kind of, I guess, defend against it. But with Harry Grant there just isn't. You've just got to hang in there hang in for the ride for that 20-minute craziness and then find a way, once that energy kind of wanes a little bit, find a way to get some points back on the board. But what about for the Broncos? What's the biggest talking point for them?
Oh, I guess, look, it starts with the number 1 for sure. Thinking about some of the crazy runs that fullbacks went on, and I'm sure people have talked about this before, but if you haven't heard it about around the fullbacks that have gone on really good runs at the back end of seasons or had huge seasons. In 09, it was the Hayne Plain, got beaten by Melbourne in the grand final. 12, it was Ben Barber, got beaten by Melbourne in the grand final. 21, it was Travojevic, got beaten by Melbourne in the semi-final. So if there is a team that knows how to neutralise a fullback who's in red-hot form, it's the Melbourne Storm. So that's... If they do and they succeed in doing that, who can step up? Now, the Broncos have a number of options. Like, they actually are probably better well-equipped than any of those teams that I mentioned because they actually have strike and star power across the board. So, yeah, is Walshy going to... Like, I can't... As good as he is, and I might get egg on my face here, I can't see a world in where Walshy is the reason that the Broncos win the game. I just don't think Melbourne will allow it.
Okay.
But that doesn't mean to say that others won't have success off the back of that. Because if you put, you've probably heard it a number of times. They used to have this thing down at Melbourne. It's been used at the All Blacks and a lot of successful franchises. Our version of it at Manly was head on a plate. And what that meant is, all right, who do we deem as the most important person? Take them out, make sure, neutralise them as best we can, and then you can... If someone else beats you, then so be it.
Yep.
And that's what Melbourne did so well against those fullbacks over the years. Who can step up? Can Tony Staggs and Shibasaki have their moments in matchups against Meany and Howarth? Yeah, they can. Paddy Carrigan and Payne Haas destroy the middle of Melbourne and create joy that way. Yeah, for sure. Ben Hunt, at 6 and then moving in and controlling the ruck, which he's done at Origin level. So, even though all the focus will be around Reece Walsh, I think that will be that for the Storm. And if he has a huge game, then I'd love to see it because he's one of those players you just want to turn up and watch and put on a show. But I just don't think Melbourne will allow him to.
Now, is enough being spoken about? Like Hughes' kicking game is good, but it's nowhere near Reynolds' kicking game. Is enough being spoken about the fact that A, it's the most experienced halves pairing a grand final's ever seen, but B, the kicking game, it's like not night and day, but it's pretty substantially different. At least the long kicking game of Reynolds.
Yeah, probably hasn't been as much chat about that, has there? Just because of the, I guess the age factor is the and also more recently with both of the players. And some of the scars that they've had in finals, big finals games. And I know Hunties is a fair while ago, but man, the Ezra Mem X factor, that's a big play as well because, I don't think Benny Hunt gets enough credit for just that subtlety around the ruck when he starts right, comes back to the left. Yeah. People just go, it was a knockdown, it was a lucky. No, it wasn't. Nah. Benny Hunt deception in and around dummy half, like not many nines can get in there, show like that, come back, because if Nathan Cleary doesn't knock it down, then I think Piakura goes through untouched.
The reason why it was knocked down is because he was stuffed.
He was gone.
It was going to be a try.
It was a silky play.
Yeah.
So
it was either going to knock it down and we still scored, or he doesn't knock it down and we still score. So it's just a good. And also, if you go back and watch the Walsh try, that was Benny Hunt going to the left and then coming back. Not the Walsh try, sorry, the Mariner try. That started from Benny Hunt going left and then coming back to right.
Yeah, showed left, didn't he? Yeah. And then it was like a bit of a wobbler because he went left and then went to go look out the back and he had to give it a little bit more. So it wasn't all that pretty, but the result obviously ended up perfectly for Stags to go for the 4-pointer.
Any smokies? Who's a smoky for a big one?
Oh, smokies? Yes, I got a smoky for each team. For the, I would, maybe not. People might say, that's obvious, but Ali Katoa is my smoky for Melbourne. Okay. And Tony Staggs is my smoky for the Broncos. Like value play.
Yeah,
because, you got so many. I think they would both be in and around, 5th or 6th in lines of betting for either of their teams. And I think those two guys on their right edges can be really influential, not with big plays, but just big carries, aggressive hits.
Well, I'm thinking, so he'll be on the Katoni's right side.
Yep. So Jack Howarth.
He'll be on Howarth, which is two big bodies going at it.
He'll try to go straight through Jack Howarth's chest too.
And Howarth is a big boy. Interesting, the other side where Shibasaki is way bigger than Meany. Meany is way quicker than Shibasaki, so that's going to be a little interesting battle there.
Good battles, both of them.
Interesting as well, Mariner and Karapani couldn't be more opposite than Warbrick. They're like smaller, explosive, crazy footwork. So I think you'll find it's just going to be penalty after penalty escorting Coates off the field. I don't think that they're going to allow him to get near any catches when it comes to tries.
Like when Cantoni just grabbed Xavier Coates, that was just...
Don't make it so blatant.
That's borderline. That was borderline.
100% it was. 100% it was. So just don't make it blatant. Jesus. All right, we're going to head to a break. After break, plenty more to talk about, including some really interesting stats heading into the grand final. Welcome back to the Captain's Run. We're here for Chemist Warehouse. Get Chemist Warehouse half-price vitamins sales on now. All right, here's some big, I guess, facts about the game coming up. So for the Storm, Pappenhausen, only player to win a Clive Churchill medal playing on Sunday. Looking to join Brad Clyde, Billy Slater, and Nathan Cleary as players to win 2 Clive Churchills. Cam Munster playing in his 5th grand final. His 5th grand final. Far out. 2020 Wally Lewis medalist as well. Harry Grant made his debut in 2018, but missed the Storm 2020 grand final win. Scored the Storm's only try in last year's grand final. Xavier Coates, 2019 to 2021, 17 tries from 32 games with the Broncos, 20 tries from 21 games this season. Here's some Broncos stats. Michael Maguire, Raiders teammate with Bellamy in 92. He joined the Storm as an assistant. Part of Storm coaching staff in 2006, who were beaten by the Broncos. 2014 Premiership winning coach of the Rabbitohs. Benny Hunt, only member of the 2015 grand final team. With Reynolds, they formed the oldest halves combination in NRL grand final, playing 355th game, tying 2006 Premiership captain Darren Lockyer. And Adam Reynolds, 309th game and 4th grand final, won 2014 with the Rabbitohs and lost his past 2 grand finals, 21 and 23. Was only 3 of his 21 games against the Storm. What do you see there, mate? All those stats.
Yeah. The one that stands out with Money, talking to Money a couple of weeks ago on our show, and I was, trying to compliment him on how successful he's been. The 10 out of the 11 years that he's actually played and been a member and a starting player, he's made a preliminary every 10 of the 11 seasons. And the one thing he said was only 2 grand finals, though. Like, that's something that even they've been so successful, but the great ones, it's not enough.
Yeah.
Like, they're all judged on, and Cam is now putting himself in that category. Like, he's already one of the best big game players of all time. Like, and he's in the conversation. But if he can get another one, if he can get a Clive Churchill around his neck as well, then I reckon he even jumps a couple that might have a few more than him. Like, the debate and the one that with Cam Munster is the success of Cam Munster versus Cooper Cronk. They're almost the perfect two to argue over, because Cooper Cronk so much more successful with terms of premierships, but like, I don't think Munster's had the cattle that Cooper Cronk's had, if that makes sense. Like, it's a great argument to have, and when you're sitting around with the boys, and maybe there'll be a few people doing it on Sunday. Maybe they're having a few blokes sitting there and just having a chat and discussing.
Well, here's a question for you then. Here's a question. If you needed a rogue to come in and do something, and we're talking Joey's a rogue, Alfie's a rogue, where would you rank Munster in all-time rogues to come
that's
to
a good one.
Series?
That's a good one.
I would go up there. Like, his resume.
He's right up there.
His resume.
He's right up there. But I want to give Alfie the respect he deserves. So right now, I'd go in terms of rogues.
Yeah.
Because Cooper's not a rogue.
Nah.
JT's a rogue.
Nah. JT's not. Like, I'm talking a guy that will go on the field and do something that you didn't even like. Whereas JT, I felt like was all effort, all heart.
Okay. Well, taking JT out, I'd go Joey 1. Throw some. Who else is in that conversation? Alfie's still 2, and Money 3. But Money's still got 5 years left.
Yeah, true.
Like, he's still got that in front of him. Like, he can jump those 2 guys.
Yep.
But Alfie was silk. I grew up, like, my years loving and growing up, and, like, getting into rugby league was Alfie and Stick.
Oh, really?
You know what I mean? Like, there was the 90s. I was going to primary school.
Stick could be a rogue. We could say Stick is a rogue.
I reckon Sticky was a little bit more of a traditional. Okay. Like, even though he was an innovator, and there'll be I know old school people screaming out, like, I think he had the banana kick first.
Yeah,
like, he started moving the ball differently. But I would say that definitely Alfie is more rogue than Sticky.
Yeah. Okay. Let us know, anyone that's any older players, guys. Cliffy Lyons, we've got a message.
Oh,
here.
Cliffy.
Lyons?
Oh,
yeah.
When you put Cliffy. Oh, that's a tough one. I don't want to...
Let's throw Thurston in there too. Stuff it. Thurston's a rogue.
Thurston. Munster's now 5. He's dropped down the 5th.
But
I've got too much respect for the OGs.
Okay, the OGs, but let's take emotion out of it and just look at resumes. How many series have these other guys essentially won off their own bat? We can give Munster at least 2.
Yeah. He definitely does. I need to go back and look at all the stats. I think maybe even Alfie goes to number 1 if you think about like some of the underdog teams that Alfie was on for those Queensland teams compared to those New South Wales teams in the 90s. Yeah. Probably doesn't get enough credit for that because we all think about how dominant that Queensland era were after that.
Could you say the one thing holding Money back a little bit is he probably hasn't done it for the Storm in a grand final just yet?
Yeah.
Hasn't had that game in a grand final because he hasn't won a Clive.
Yeah, a Clive, even though both teams are stacked, I think that strengthens his argument that, like, this is 2 really good teams, like as good as some of the Melbourne Storm teams were. And again, with Penrith, like, look at the examples with Penrith. Like, Para were a great story to get in 2022, but they were nowhere near on par with Penrith that year. No. Melbourne had some pretty good grand finals where teams were, was the Cowboys when they played the Cowboys without JT?
Yep, 2017.
2017. So, like, during those good runs, those Storm teams, they did get a couple of good matchups in grand finals that were obviously more favourable to them. Whereas, this game is a genuine coin flip. So whoever comes out of this game, it's a big tick for their resume for everyone involved.
If Money walks away with a Clive, like, he really does etch his name into all-time rogue players that can just win you anything.
For sure he does.
Like, because he's done it so many times in Origin. This would just be the final, nail in the coffin. Because every single big game, he's done it, pretty much. Oh, man, I cannot wait. I seriously cannot wait. I got some text here. Hey, Kempy and Scope. Looking at the team list, Pezzett and Farlonga on the bench for the Storm this week. Any other team in the NRL I feel would undoubtedly be starters. Nearly first. Oh, my God.
Nearly first picks.
Nearly first picks. Are they that good, or is it just the Melbourne Storm illusion that they're just as good in purple? Look at the players missing out on the GF for the Storm. Their depth is unreal. I think, look, Pezzett I still think has a ways to go to be an NRL week in, week out 7. Fa'alongo, I think that not most teams, but I think a lot of teams he'd be the starting fullback.
System helps, but they're both 2 really good players with high ceilings.
I think Fa'alongo's closer to being a week in, week out first grader than Pezzett is, but they're both. Yeah, I agree. They're both bloody good players.
I love the first finals appearance and performance by Jonah Pezzett. That was a big tick for me. I still had my sort of concerns about him being able to control the team, but to do that with both Pappenhausen and Hughes out. I know he still had money and was Harry missing in that game too? So Harry was suspended. Hughesy was out of the game and Pappenhausen. So it was Money, Wishart, and Pezzett.
Yep.
So I thought he was really good in that game.
Alrighty, we're going to head to a break. After break, got plenty more to get to. We've got a text here. Alfie probably has more. However, in one series based on one player, the 8th Immortal in 05 has not been surpassed yet. I mean, the 2005 series by Andrew Johns, it is the greatest of all time. That is the greatest piece of rugby league that you can watch, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. Welcome back to the Captain's Run. Got some great text here. Terry Lamb, rogue.
Oh, yeah. Bar was rogue. But a lot of the OGs were rogue because it was a different sort of game. And then it became really structured at the start of the 2000s into and almost like Cronk become so many young halves just wanted to mimic and copy Cronk's detail, attention to detail, the way he controlled a team. I'm sure there are other examples that people will be blowing up, but like Cronk almost turned a game manager into something to strive for. Whereas it
didn't used to be.
I reckon if you was considered a game manager during the early 90s and stuff, it'd kind of be like, that ain't for me. I want someone who can go after the game. You know what I mean?
Yeah, okay.
Where Cronk made it cool.
And I guess it became such a more structured game too.
Yep.
Alrighty, let's go to Dally M's. Okay. So the nominees for Dally M, who's going to win the Dally M this year?
Teddy.
By a landslide or close?
probably be closer than what people give it credit for.
Yep.
It's like they're pretty hard to predict. I'm sure there are people sitting at home that have sat down and done their 3-2-1 or 6-4-2 or whatever it is to come up with who they think. But I think Teddy, I think Isaiah Cattell will be close there for large portions and then maybe just drop away just at the end. And who's the other one? Tommy Dearden. I had Tommy Dearden. I think Tommy Dearden's going to be closer than what a lot of people think, just because of the Cowboys season. But every time the Cowboys played well, Tom Dearden was getting 6 points.
What an interesting year for Dearden. Incredible Origin series.
Good.
And then Clubland Cowboys just fell to pieces. Okay, Coach of the Year. Who's a Coach of the Year for you?
Yeah, it's sticky.
Include the final series.
Ivan.
Okay.
Nah,
okay.
Madge. You could go Bally too, but if I was to go final series, I'd probably go Madge. Sticky, obviously regular season, but man, Ivan
I'd go Stick.
To recover from where he was,
he's not even nominated, Ivan.
Yeah, no, that's a disgrace.
What are we talking about?
That's why they should change it. If you wanted a genuine player of the year, a genuine coach of the year, a genuine position of the year, if you go all the way into the finals, then Payne Haas goes from me to all right, he's probably my front rower to he's 100% my front rower with the performances against Canberra and Penrith. So yeah, it's one of those. Ricky will get it.
Yeah, even with finals, I still would give it to Ricky.
Okay.
Yeah, just because bro, they were basically going to come last at the start of this year. Everyone thought I had them 14th or something like that.
So can we agree that's most improved coach then?
You know what?
That's what it is.
That's fair.
Is that fair?
That's fair.
It's not Dally M Coach of the Year. It's Dally M Most Improved Coach of the Year.
That's such a good point. That's such a good point. But the argument though is what is a coach's job? It is to get the best out of their players. So therefore, it does match up that it would usually.
I'm all on board. I love Ricky, the job that he's done. But let's just call it what it is.
Call it what it is. Okay.
The year before, a couple of years ago, it was Webster, most improved roster.
Yep.
Andrew Webster, coach. No one seen it coming. Up the wires, all that.
Well, I got to say,
last year? Was it Serraldo?
Serraldo last year.
Serraldo, most improved.
I've got to say though, Ivan Cleary only winning one is outrageous.
Yeah.
Actually outrageous.
Well, that's the counter argument for it, right? That's where it doesn't make sense, because if you were to start a franchise over the last 5 or 6 years and you pick a coach, every single year, 80% of fans, clubs, CEOs, they're picking Ivan, please.
Yeah.
It's Ivan every day of the week.
Michael Maguire.
And Belly.
The GOAT.
And Stick. And Serraldo.
Forgot Wayne Bennett. Wow.
Uncle Wayne.
Oh, wow.
Oh.
Uh-oh.
I know.
Okay, Rookie of the Year. Who you got?
Rookie of the Year, Leka Halasima. But I reckon Isaiah Yongi, if he didn't get injured, he was awesome.
So I think they actually end up playing the same amount of games.
Oh, did they really?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Okay. Isaiah Yongi then for me.
Yeah, I'm going to go Yongi. I just think...
you are? You're going to go?
Yeah, I think so. Halasima was great.
Yep.
But at fullback, a key position in the spine, at a club that's in the middle of a rebuild, I'd go Yongi.
Super impressive kid too. Super impressive kid. He's only going to get, you can tell he absorbed everything that Penrith and just modelled his game off Dylan. The one thing that I think maybe the average fan hasn't noticed with Isaiah Yongi, that I reckon he prioritises defence first more than attack, and then the attack just comes naturally to him.
Yeah, okay. Alrighty, let's get to the team here. Teddy, Kyle Weeks, Reece Walsh at fullback.
Teddy.
Centres, Casey McLean, Rob Toyer, Herbie Farnworth, Stephen Crichton, Katoni Staggs. And I just want to throw in there, the fact that Cooler isn't here is an outrage.
Love that. Outrage. I was going to say the same thing. When I read these teams out on Monday, it sort of just escaped me, and then I had someone reach out to me and say the same thing. Good shout. He wouldn't be my starting centres, but he should be in here. I am going Herbie Farnworth and Katoni Staggs.
Ooh, over Critter.
Yep.
Wow. I'm going...
for this year, that's my decision. But, again, going back to the Ivan Cleary counter argument, if you ask me to start... If I'm picking a roster and starting from scratch, I'm taking Stephen Crichton every day of the week.
Okay. I'm going Critter and Herbie. Wingers, Nwanga Nituase, Savage, Kiraz, Lomax, Coates, and I can't believe Tyro hasn't at least been nominated. I cannot... You're telling me that all those boys have had a better season than Tyro? I don't know.
Would Bizza missed a half a dozen games too?
Like 6 or 7.
Yeah.
He still averaged 200 metres and all that good stuff.
Is he your number one again? Going back to the
No,
argument,
I wouldn't select him as Dally M of the year, but I just think he should be nominated for it.
would he be your number one winger if you were starting a franchise?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah,
Mate,
same.
I'd go further and say not only number one winger, he'd be nearly 2 or 3 signed. Like, you'd go number 7, like the main man, maybe a front rower, and then Toto.
Wow.
Just because, bro, he's like a front rower and a winger.
I know.
Like,
I appreciate him. I appreciate him. I'm going on Nwanga Netawase and Xavier Coates.
Xavier Coates. Okay. 5/8. Munster, Burton, Strange.
Munster.
Okay.
No bias too. I reckon Munster's season's been slept on this year.
Okay.
Remember in years past when Munster, remember last year when Munster missed a whole heap of footy? Was it last year or the year before when he had the groin injury? Was it 23 or 24? I think it might have been 23.
Yeah, 23.
It might have been 23. And everyone was raving about how good Jerome Hughes performs without Munster, and or I think Pappenhausen was missing as well.
Yep.
Munster's played this year with Jonah Pezzett and Tyron Wishart and Nick Meaney at fullback. And Hughes has missed a lot of footy. Harry was a little bit busted through the origin period. Pappy's missed some games as well. So I don't think he gets enough credit for that. So I'd go Munster against a guy in Ethan Strange, who I think is going to be part of this category for a number of years.
Okay. At halfback, Cleary, Katoa, Fogarty.
Izzy Katoa.
Easy. And I know he faded a little bit towards the end, but he was still incredible most of the year. Hooker, Coruscant, Brayley, Starling.
I think this one's straightforward as well, Brayley.
Yeah, I think so. Props, Fanor Blake, Uto Ikamanu, Josh Papali, Terrell May, and Payne Haas.
I'm surprised Joseph Tapane is not
Suspended.
a part. Oh, there you go.
So annoying. Bro.
Okay.
So annoying.
That rule sucks.
Round 1. He got done for 2 weeks from round 1 for a shoulder charge. Like, bruh.
Yeah. Okay. Stefano and Payne.
I'm going Terrell May and Payne.
Okay.
Terrell May and Payne.
Yep.
Second rowers, Martin, Crichton, Lecker, Young, Katoa.
The ladder. Hudson Young on the left, Ali Katoa on the right.
Easy. Honestly, daylight.
Yep.
Young and Katoa have been the best back rowers. Lock, Clark, Yo, White.
Aaron Clark.
100% lock him in. We riot if Aaron Clark doesn't win. He's been the most consistent lock, easy. This episode has been brought to you by Longtel Internet, the best internet. No contracts, no credit cards. Go to Longtel, LAUNTEL.net.au/bloke. Give it a try today. No strings attached. You will not be disappointed. Customer service 5 years running. Beak, I think everyone is missing that the Broncos also held Penrith to 0 in the second half. When was the last time anyone did that to them?
That's a good shout.
Yeah. Then the last time that happened to them is in a finals match as well. That's fair. Okay. Which other team is allowed to? Okay. So here's a text. Which other team is allowed to buy 2 $1 million halves? Now listen, bro. You telling me anyone thought Renault was worth and Ben Hunt was worth $1 million before the season started?
No.
Now, if you want to say they're not worth 300 grand, I'll go with you there. But I reckon around 500 or 600K is a fair. 500K for either one is a fair.
Meet halfway, Kempy.
Yep.
That's fair. 500 to 600 for both those guys at this point of the career that's good. That's a good purchase.
That's fair. But I do think that the Broncos definitely got away with getting Benny Hunt for 400. I think it ended up being 400. I think
that's a G up.
500 is the lowest I could go there.
Yeah.
In saying that, he didn't make Origin this year, and he was coming off a team that was 10th or 11th, something like that.
Yeah, he's still north of 500.
Absolutely, absolutely is. Okay, last text here. Can that make the news for shock value? Kempy picks the Broncos and Payne Haas. I'm stunned, bro. Okay. I give a perfectly reasonable take, but it's because I'm super biased is why I gave the take.
You're allowed to be biased. Why can't we be biased when our teams are in...
This is what I don't get. If I had said, friggin' Corey Pakes is going to win the thing and we're going to win by 40 points.
Yeah, it's not even biased to say that. That's a genuine coin flip.
This is Payne Haas and the Broncos winning. There's no bias needed involved in that.
But even if that wasn't the case and it's a coin flip and Payne Haas isn't Payne Haas, who cares? Be biased if your team is in there. Isn't that isn't that what we're supposed to do?
Okay,
don't your fans want you to be biased on their behalf?
Grand final coverage on SEN kicks off from 9 a.m. on Sunday all the way up to kickoff. And final edition of the Captain's Run for 2025. I think it's either next week or the week after. Wrapping up the grand final, looking ahead to the Ashes series and giving away 2 early predictions for 2026. And we'll also name 2026 Origin sides. We'll name that next week. That was a joke. That was a joke.
You got me.
Origin Tate is never too early. It's never too early. Alrighty, guys, that's another episode. Thanks, Skipper Scope, for coming in. Make sure to
Always
give them a follow.
pleasure.
Levels Network.
Thank you.
Big game this week. Let's go the Broncos.